Welcome back, friends. Today's conversation explores the very origins of the covenant path, the footsteps of Yeshua, the teachings of the apostles, and the promises Yahweh made long before any of us took our first breath. A listener reached out with a series of heartfelt questions, not theoretical, not distant, but deeply practical for anyone who longs to walk with Yahweh in purity and clarity. They ask, do New Testament believers still follow Yahweh's commandments? Or were the commandments nailed to the cross in Colossians 2:14, as many of us were taught? If they weren't abolished, then which commandments are we still walking in today? And how can we tell the difference? How do these instructions relate to the stones Yahweh places along the covenant path, the markers meant to keep our feet steady? And finally, what does it mean that the law is now written on our hearts, as Jeremiah 31 and Hebrews 8 describe? These questions are significant, and they matter. They influence every decision we make as followers of Yeshua. So today I'm bringing them to Declan and Christian. Declan, as you know, offers clarity, structure, and grounding in the manuscripts. Masoretic text, majority text, textus receptus. Christian brings the imagery, the heart, and the covenant rhythm, the way the Hebrews would have experienced these truths, not just analyzed them. Let's start with the very first question our listener asked. Do believers keep Yahweh's commandments today, or were they nailed to the cross?
Let's start by laying out what the manuscripts themselves say with absolute clarity. 1. The apostles teach obedience, repeatedly, strongly, and without ambiguity. From the textus receptus and majority text, if you love me, keep my commandments. Yeshua, John 14:15. He who says I know him and does not keep his commandments is a liar. 1 John 2:4. This is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome. 1 John 5:3. And sin is lawlessness. 1 John 3:4. If the commandments were nailed to the cross, then none of these verses make sense. The apostles are not abolishing obedience. They are intensifying it, deepening it, bringing it into the heart. 2. The early believers kept Sabbath, Yahweh's appointed times and the rhythms of Torah. Acts makes this pattern unmistakable. Yeshua keeps Sabbath as his custom. Luke 4:16. Paul keeps Sabbath in every city he visits. Acts 13:17, 18. The assembly still prays at the temple at the appointed hours. Acts 3:1. The festivals shape the apostles' travel schedules. Acts 20, 1 Corinthians 5, 7, and 8. Nothing in the manuscript shows a departure from Yahweh's rhythms. 3 Colossians 2:14 does not say Yahweh's law was nailed to the cross. The Greek phrase in the textus receptus is to hierographon tois dogmas, in the handwritten record of debt. This refers to the charges against us, the record of our sins, and the indictment that stood in opposition. It does not refer to Yahweh's commandments. Yeshua did not nail Yahweh's voice to the cross. He nailed our rebellion to the cross. Big difference.
Picture this: a courtroom in the ancient world, a wooden tablet. Your crimes scratched into the surface, your failures recorded line by line, your shame written for all to see. That is the hierographon, the handwritten indictment. When a debt was paid, that tablet was pierced, a nail driven straight through it. Paul is saying, your guilt was pierced, your shame was pierced, your rebellion was pierced, not Yahweh's instructions. The commandments were never the enemy. They were the map that pointed us to life. Sin was the enemy. Condemnation was the enemy. Death was the enemy. Yeshua struck down the enemies of the covenant, not the covenant itself.
Let's address the second two-part question. What parts of the law apply today, and how do we tell the difference?
Here's the simplest manuscript-based method. 1. If a command reveals Yahweh's character, it continues. This includes love Yahweh with all your heart, love your neighbor, honor parents, reject idols, sexual purity, justice and fairness, mercy and generosity, honesty, rest, Sabbath, and sacred rhythms. The New Testament reaffirms every single one. 2. If a command depends on the temple sacrificial system, Yeshua fulfilled it. This includes blood sacrifices, priestly garment regulations, incense rituals, purification offerings. These weren't removed. They reached their destination in Yeshua. 3. If a command was a boundary marker distinguishing Israel from the nations, it shifts meaning. Circumcision, food laws tied to priesthood, etc. said the New Testament reframes these around holiness and unity, not ethnicity. The rule is incredibly simple. If the command reveals Yahweh's character, it still speaks. If the command required the temple, Yeshua fulfilled it.
Imagine Torah as a great ancient tree. The roots, Yahweh's character, unchanging, eternal. The trunk, the covenant path, justice, compassion, holiness. The branches, the temple system, sacrifices, rituals, priestly functions. When Yeshua came, he did not chop down the tree. He fulfilled the meaning of the branches, but the roots remain alive, and the trunk still stands firm. We walk the roots. We walk the trunk. The Ruach teaches us how.
Here's the third question. How do the commandments connect to the stones on the covenant path?
The commandments are the stones. Each commandment is a boundary marker, a direction pointer, a line in the dust saying, "This is the way, walk in it," a guardrail keeping us from wandering into Babylon. Without the stones, the path disappears, Adai.
Picture the ancient path at dawn. The light is soft. The air is heavy with dew. And there, set deep into the soil, stand the stones. They are not obstacles. They are invitations. Each commandment is a stone: purity stone, honesty stone, Sabbath stone, mercy stone, covenant loyalty stone. The stones don't block movement. They shape movement. When Yahweh lays a stone, he is not restraining us. He is guiding us.
Now, the last question our listener asked, what does it mean that the law is written on our hearts?
In Jeremiah 31 and Hebrews 8, Yahweh says, "I will put my Torah within them. I will write it on their hearts." This means same Torah, same instruction, same covenant path. But now, internal, empowered, desired, embraced, the content doesn't change. The location does.
When Yahweh wrote on stone, the people stood at a distance. They heard. They agreed. But they did not love. Stone can point to the path, but stone cannot make the feet move. So Yahweh makes a promise. I will carve my ways into your longing. I will press my voice into your desires. I will shape your heart until obedience feels like breathing. The law on the heart means the path is no longer foreign. The stones align with your inner compass. The shepherd's rhythm becomes your rhythm. The commandments become joy, not burden.
Well, friends, if you've tracked with us through this whole episode, you've just walked through the very center of the new covenant. We've learned today that Yahweh didn't erase his path. He erased our guilt. He didn't nail his commandments to the cross. He nailed the accusations against us. He didn't remove the stones. He put their meaning inside our hearts. Obedience is no longer a cold requirement. It's a warm response. The new covenant doesn't silence Yahweh's voice. It brings his voice closer. It doesn't remove the ancient path. It places our feet firmly on it. So as you move into the days ahead, let this settle deep inside you. Yahweh hasn't changed the path. He's changed you so you can walk it. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep walking the ancient path.